So what we're seeing today is more than ever, organizations are under pressure to leverage the wealth of information and make more intelligent choices. Remember what I said. How do you make more intelligent choices with the information you already have? Against that backdrop, we're seeing this massive volume of digital data. I think we all recognize the speed with which we're having to make decisions today. I was kind of joking. I joined IBM in 1983. There were no laptops, no mobile phones. I was in Saudi last week. There is nowhere in Saudi Arabia I can't get a mobile reception and get my email on BlackBerry. It's somewhat distressing. Okay? So these are all things that have come along. We have a generation now. Anybody under 22 does not remember life without a mobile or a laptop. How they interact with each other and with us as, more mature members of the population, shall I say, by myself anyway, ladies, not talking about you, is breathtaking. They just have a completely different attitude. They're not interested in it. They don't care how it works. To them, it's a hammer, right? They'll pick up, use it, they'll put it down. We're also seeing huge variety of information out there. Types of information, video. How do you read video in near real time? If you look or travel in the London travel system, there's at probably no point in time you are not on CCTV. The question is, how can they interpret that data information and track you through that information network and system? We also need to shift what we analyze, what that means to us. So one example of that is Metro, which is a German supermarket. I'm not going to talk about all these. They're in the slide deck. What they're using is RFID tags and labeling through the whole supply chain inventory network. They're using it for supplying from their manufacturers all the way through their control system, through the shipping, docking, all the way through supply. They're seeing a massive drop in wastage. They're seeing a massive drop in shipping costs and a much better supply time, stock shelf time. They're the 5th largest retailer in the world, and they're seeing massive business benefits from this. The other pressure we see is really about how do you drive greater efficiencies by taking action on energy, the environment, and sustainability. I think all companies understand their duty and fiduciary responsibility around the environment and green. We have laws and regulatory controls. We have a lot of stakeholder expectations. Stakeholders have a huge influence on a lot of companies now. But we also see growth opportunities for tapping into that green agenda. And also, one of the questions really is about cost and availability of natural resources. If you look at the raw material cost around gold, copper, oil, water, electricity, for a large consumer, if you're running a company with energy consumption and energy power utilization costs doubled in 2009. They've kind of receded a bit this year, but they were pretty dramatic last year. And when you start looking at that as a point of your fixed cost, this becomes an important business drive and agenda. One example of that is Statoil Hydro in Norway. And what they've done is instrumented their whole energy exploration, oil exploration fields in the North Sea. So that's putting remote sensors, monitors on all their gas pipeline, their inventory, their stock, their flow meters. They're looking at how they do that monitoring and integration of all those different devices, those different types of data, to get a holistic view of their whole environment and network. So of the known wells out there, only 30% of them have been fully exploited, of the known reserves out there. The question is, if you can get just a couple of points more efficiency out of those known wells before they become water contaminated, or you have pressure problems and issues, just think of the value and benefit to that oil company. The Norwegian government had a quick look at this. They estimate they're going to save 300 billion kroner by exploiting this oil management, oil inventory utilization control system and mechanism. Another thing is, how can we work smarter, not just 24/7 living on mobile phones by my bed? I don't do that, by the way. I find that somewhat distressing. I know somebody who took their laptop to bed. Their wife wouldn't talk to them, but that's another subject. We are seeing how people buy, live, and work changing. We see economic pressures, right? The global economy. how we can build visibility, viability, and control their business models. We've seen this great change in consumer demand, how they interact, whether they buy online, whether they go in the shop. Massive global competition. You know, anybody who doesn't understand the nature of the, you know, emerging geographies, I would encourage you to go to India and China and just go have a look. The sheer volume of people as you get off the plane is pretty breathtaking. The other thing we're seeing is this whole view on IT integration, this merging that we see today between cloud, Web 2.0, and our existing IT infrastructure and the whole business supply chain that we see. And this blurring between us as an enterprise, our providers, and our consumers. It is almost becoming a seamless end-to-end flow now. One example of that is Canadian Airlines. So when you look at Air Canada, one of the big things they had, 2003 was the SARS epidemic. It almost bankrupted. Basically, nobody wanted to go to Canada. Okay. So post that, they did a huge piece of work about how they integrate the whole customer experience, how they open up their existing IT infrastructure to their end user customers via multiple different access methods, be it the web, be it mobile, and improve that experience and that level of customer service and satisfaction whereby the customers would actually stay with them and by preference travel with them. And there's numerous examples of that. But also in today's economy, we also recognize we need this sort of dynamic infrastructure that will cope with, you know, the pressure that we all see on costs, that are also intelligent and secure. You know, one of the things I think people are losing context of, you know, I keep having to lecture my children about how much they put on the web, what information they put out that is generically and socially available. I think a lot of companies need to understand what they're doing with the infrastructure, what they're doing with their environments. Are they secure? Are they keeping hold of that transactional and data? And you are fiduciary responsible. If people give you credit card information and data, you are liable and culpable under the Data Protection Act. And that pressure is rising. So we see cost pressures. We see, as ever, increasing service expectations from these very demanding customers. We see these new risks and threats. And also we see emerging technologies that will continue to emerge. A lot of people ask me, you know, when will this all slow down? We're not seeing any sign of it at the moment, right? We're seeing a continued expansion of capability, performance, and transaction rates. So what can we do to give you a dynamic infrastructure that will let you respond to your ever-changing environment? The example I'm going to touch on is river estuary management in the Hudson Valley. What they're doing is they're managing the whole Hudson Valley holistically. So they've got water metering, they've got access to all the telemetry data from the fishing fleet, the estuary fleet. They've got all the pipeline coolant usage monitored and managed. And they're also integrating with the Environment Agency that they're running in the Hudson Valley. By aggregating that information and data together, they're making great utilization of that natural resource, but they're also managing it for effluent issues, you know, fish stock population issues, flooding issues, and all kinds of different management issues. And what they're trying to do here is build this dynamic infrastructure that will cope with change and give them the information to solve the problems as they see them from day to day. So what we're seeing is lots of smart things are happening, and they're happening today. We shouldn't lose sight. These are all examples of what customers are doing, how they're integrating different enterprises, different companies, different business problems that they see today. So where are the greatest opportunities for progress for you? What I'd encourage you to think about are 3 ways of focusing on these problems. I've kind of given you the high-level themes, and I'd encourage you to think about the problem in 3 different ways. You should focus on value. How can you best serve your customers, your clients, by becoming more instrumented, more interconnected, and more intelligent? how can you imbue information, data, intelligence from that data? How can you achieve top-line growth, capture share? Embrace change. As humans, we all hate change. I remember one of my maths lecturers at university had a great expression: life is full of constants that aren't and variables that won't. Okay? So if you think things are going to stay the same, you're going to be sadly disappointed. So my advice to you is embrace that change, understand it is coming, and capitalize on that shifting demand, because it will shift. The other challenge for all of us is we're going to have to do it faster. The words I use to my team are fail fast, fail forward. Okay? If you're going to fail. But you've got to do things fast. So how do you manage that change and actively manage that change? So you have to envision and fulfill the promise of that global integration. You have to accept it is there, it is a reality. So how do you deal with that reality? You can ignore it, hope it's going to go away, but it is there and it is a real pressure. And the other thing is what new business models can you adopt as a result of the information you have, this intelligence you have, this interconnection you have, this instrumentation you have. So I'd encourage you to think that the kind of topic areas I'd encourage you to think about of how you can potentially organize yourselves to look at those problems. So hopefully you've seen the world is becoming smaller, flatter, and smarter, and we are moving to this age of ever globally integrated, both economically, socially, and as a planet. The question is, what will we do with it? And it really is up to us. Thank you.